Oh,
What up, Skip?
man, what's up, man? I'm so happy you here.
Me too, man. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I seen you dancing. You done got fine. What is going on in LA? All right. I'm so excited, man. Like, you don't know how much it means that, like, I had an idea and people were like, yo, we need to do this.
Yeah.
Do you know how I guess I take this thing up here and I guess I can copy it and then post it?
Yep. The link. Yep.
Yeah, just post it from the top.
Yep.
Okay. You know I'm not fancy like y'all.
I
I'm
know, but
regular.
you're making it work on Google Hangouts and everything. I was wondering what you was gonna use.
Yeah. I figure that it's easier to do it this
Oh
way.
yeah, for sure. And then you
Yeah.
can always post it right to YouTube after if you want to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought it did that automatically. So that makes it
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
better.
Yep.
Yeah. I give myself a minute to post it to Facebook
Cool.
and we'll have a couple of housekeeper issues and uh and we'll be ready to roll.
Word. Let me go get.
All right. I just put it on the Facebook.
Boom.
All right. But you know, who comes is that's a very privileged statement. But you know, you can't always wait.
Real.
So, what you been up to? You working on that music?
I am actually. This is I don't know if I ever actually told you what I was doing, but basically I got this idea to do an Afrofuturism short story with my friend because I've been wanting to write, and I'm gonna write it like a score almost, like a soundtrack to it. So we're working on that right now.
What up? Hey man, nothing man. Get ready to start this little book situation. All right. Yeah, like man. Hey, what up with your brother? Hey, look, you coming to the book thing? Oh, that's what's up, man. All right. But now, Cams, you didn't tell me that because I got the same type of deal happening. This brother, what's your last name, brother? This brother Stanley Wesley. He's from Respect Our Black Dollars,
Okay.
a group here in Jackson, doing really good work, holding the convenience stores and other groups actually accountable for the types of products that they serve and sell in our community. So it's actually really dope to have him a part of it, you know. So that works out great.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But you know, like that's the same thing that I was trying to do with Radio Free Dixie. So I'm interested in hearing the direction that you go in it. Yeah, like
Okay.
that's dope.
Oh yeah, for sure. We should talk about it soon. For sure.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, give people a couple minutes and then we just gonna go for it. Um, so I tell you a chunk of how like I facilitate it.
Mhm.
Um, so essentially, like you know, we just do a welcome check-ins or whatever. And then we kind of lay out what we're gonna discuss.
Okay.
And then in the facilitation of it, like the facilitator asks a series of questions. Um, I think I have one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. I got 10 questions, so we'll see how that goes on time. Um, and you ask questions, and your answers can relate to both your life experience and is centered in the work, right?
Right. Right.
after we do that, then we have a response back to the group, laying out the things that we thought about the reading, um, and the things that we thought about the facilitation. And then we just kind of determine when we'll do it again. I think we ought to do it every other week instead of weekly. That gives people
Right.
time to, kind of read and digest and live more. Um, and then we just kind of talk through it that way.
So,
It's real slick. Like, it should not take more than an hour to do it all. Cause you don't want people to be here all day. Um, and then it makes us be really accountable for time. Cause time is our most valuable resource.
right.
So I got 5:38. I give it to 5:40. I want to make sure that I'm sharing it right.
Let me go. Let me check. Make sure I
Okay.
can see it.
And then there's a chat over here too, so people want to chat in, they can. But yeah, how you been, man? I really appreciate you coming.
Oh yeah, I told you I'll be here.
Yeah, that's dope. Like, I really appreciate that.
Let me see if I can get a few more people.
Okay.
What did you say? This a book club?
We're reading Asada and starting like the basis of political education. I think Asada, Blood in My Eye, and a couple of short essays are really good things to like wrestle with the text. Because a lot of people are just out here emotionally responding to this murder, and like, they don't care about our lives, man. So like, why not take it as an opportunity to organize and pull people together and really ground it, to kind of move the discussion forward a bit. Because I think it definitely aligns. Like, I think the response of Respect Our Black Dollars is definitely a strategic response, right? But how many people just saw that and complained about it and didn't really, take it to the next level of starting to do analysis? And I think y'all got some analysis up, to justify the work that you're doing.
Hey brother, how you doing? I'm down here at the African Art Gallery. I'm here with brother Skip Coon.
Did I post it right, Cam?
Yeah, we get ready.
Yeah, I think so. It's making me sign in. Let me just.
Meet and see
Okay.
if you want to participate. Okay. Alrighty.
No, wait, that might not be quite right. It's taking me to the wrong place. Hold on.
Okay.
See if I can get it for you.
Oh, there it is. Settings, that's good, that's good. Links to there. Oh,
Okay.
I think I got it.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I think I got it. All right, there we go. I think I got it now. Yeah. Is that you too?
Yeah, I had to turn my one of my tablets off.
You got all the technology.
I mean, you know me.
But you look good, man. You been good?
I have been good. just got back from sickle cell summer camp with the babies, so with the kids, the kiddies. So
That's dope.
yeah, it was. It was definitely dope.
I think I look like I'm in the dark. Let me see. I look better over here, huh?
Definitely lighter, brighter.
Yeah. So I move the table over here so it don't look like I'm in an undisclosed location. Cause people love being fake investigated by the FBI.
You right. You right about that.
Like, the FBI gonna shut down your book club. All right. You still hear me pretty good? Do you see me?
Yeah,
Pretty
perfect.
good?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
perfect.
All right, bet. But yeah, it's a cool spot. They looked out for us and everything. All right, well, we're gonna go on and get started. This is the I don't have a cool name for it. If you think of a cool name for it, do that. But we want to have some real understanding of the system that oppresses us and the work that we must do to liberate ourselves from this system. The sisters have been giving us the game for a long time. So we're discussing the forward and the chapter 1 of Asada. So here goes. The first question that I have is based off of reading the text is, how did we get here? Like, what was our impetus? What was your impetus to woke, since it's such a popular term to use now? Like, what got us to understanding that the system that we're in is not one. In the forward, Asada starts off by saying, well, the writer of the forward, I think it's I don't think Asada wrote it. Let's see who? Lennox Hines.
Yeah.
Lennox Hines writes, Asada writes simply and vividly about the racism that permeated her childhood and young womanhood, those ordinary experiences of black people in the United States that have driven millions to despair and rebellion. It is racist America that provides the context for the making of this black revolutionary. Like, so what were your experiences that brought you into this situation of wanting to respond against the oppression of white aggression? Like, what brought you here? You're free to chime in too.
Oh, well, you can just observe right now.
Oh, sure, no problem. Okay. What you got, Cams?
Well, for me, it actually started with religion. It started in college when my niece came out, and it was like a big deal for our family. And just a lot of the things that I had been taught via Christianity weren't adding up. They weren't making sense anymore. And the more I tried to get understanding of it from, my dad and pastors and this, that, and the third, the less it made sense, right? And so I started just reading. I just started I went ham. I needed to have an understanding because it felt like I had been given this thing that was false, right? And so at that point, I just wanted to discover anything and everything, and that sort of spiraled into other things that led me to be quote unquote woke. Understanding oppression in a different way, understanding microaggressions, understanding things that I had been experiencing throughout my childhood in school, dealing with white teachers and things like that I didn't have language for at the time. That's really how it started for me.
Yeah, it's dope. Like, a very similar situation for me. It was really recognizing that the world wasn't fair, like it just wasn't right, you know. And then my dad had a certain amount of understanding politically. It's really interesting as I've gotten older and more mature. My dad, you know, tells me how I get it from him, you know, and even though it was never any real conversations about it, I can look back on it and recognize what my dad was doing. Like, he bought me these black action figures, you know what I'm saying? Like Sun Man and like all types of just small things like that. Like he was planting the seed,
Right, right.
you know what I'm saying? And then where I'm from is just so black. Somebody on Twitter was talking the other day, like, you know, when was the first time you had a black teacher? And I had to flip the question. Like, I ain't have a white teacher till I was in the 3rd grade. You know what I'm saying? Like, all my teachers have been black. All my principals have been black. I didn't go to school with a white child until I was in the 8th grade. All I knew was black people, and black people were smart and talented. And I just came from a house where black people, you know, like recognize the evils of white aggression. So it was not like I was never coddled into thinking that, you know, one day white people gonna be my friend. You know, like I don't have that lived experience. Like the lived experience that I have is black people got to do right by black people. So I didn't learn more about the real world, in air quotes, until I was a man almost. You know, like in high school, 10th, 11th grade, like looking at stuff and recognizing, oh, things are different. You know, like otherwise, the only white people I knew were white people that worked with my mama. And like I just knew them going bowling. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have any real interaction with the dominant culture that I thought that would lead me to think that they were better or smarter or anything else. Like I just knew that my world was black, and that if I wanted the world to be better, it was gonna be better with black people in it. You know?
Yeah, I think that's because being here in California, I talk about this a lot about how, you know, we had probably the height of, you know, what I call covert racism, right? Where everything seems great on the surface, where my neighborhood is really diverse and my white neighbors are supposedly friends with us and things like that. And I think that's why this happened in college, because that's when I first went to the South and saw things very differently. It's when I first was around other black people who were, you know, doing the same things I was doing, interested in the same things I was interested in. I wasn't an anomaly, right, anymore. I wasn't an exception to the rule. And that didn't happen until I got to the South, until I could see all of these black people and sort of have a little bit of the experience that you had growing up. Yeah. That's interesting.
So people will have a lot of different answers to this question, but like, what made you choose this response to that stimulus, right? Like, what made you decide that the oppression that black people face must be fought, not must be capitulated to? The oppression that black people face must be engaged and resisted, not succumbed to. Like, what made you pick this? You know, like if you could have picked anything, you could have picked anything else in the world, but you chose to resist the oppression of the dominant culture. Like, what made you pick this side?
It didn't even seem like there was an option, right? Like, it didn't seem like, and I think because a lot of what you said about he's having been per se, but my mom made sure I had these images of black people, right? And my mom made sure she instilled certain things. She didn't always have the right idea about how to resist certain things, or I would say I would change it and say she did the best she could with what she knew how, right? And telling me and teaching me how to resist certain things in school. But even her not having the language and not having the understanding for some things, she did the best she could to plant those seeds so that by the time I was able to recognize oppression for what it was, resistance was the only option. Like, it didn't seem like
You know, I had been fighting with in every other area of my life, right? Even dealing with sickle cell and the race issue that comes along with that. I was taught to fight. I was taught to resist. You don't just take anything. You're not going to take it lying down. So it was just a matter of finding the right tools and finding the right way to resist for me.
Yeah, like my mom never asked me to submit easily. You know, like I remember being a young child going back and forth with my mom talking about things weren't right or things weren't fair. And because I told you so was never a respected response by me, and there were no consequences to me voicing my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like my mom always said that she wanted me to think. And when she wants me to think, that means that I'm going to respond when she says something. You know, like one of the earliest stories that she tells often is that when I was a little boy, she told me that if I do something, whatever it was, if you do it again, I'm going to whoop you. And I was smart enough and dumb enough, right, to say, no, you're not, because you said that last time. You're not going to whoop me. And with that, like, my mom started to recognize, like, yo, like, he's paying attention, like, he's picking up on, he's aware of, and all of those things meant something. So because of that, you know, like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm going to tell my truth. Like, I'm not going to be quiet. You know, like, I'm not going to go peacefully. Like, I'm not going to go along to get along. And it's not just because, you know, my mama let me talk back, in air quotes. Like, I don't know how else do you talk to somebody. But the expectation was never there that I just willingly submit to any type of authority. You know, like, even at church, like, that don't make no sense to me. Like, in church, like, 9, 10 years old, this don't make sense. Well, why they say do this if you do this? Like, I don't understand it. So, like, my mama never beat it out me. And I don't think people really recognize that, like, the first people that quell rebellions are your mama, you know, your dad. Like, them the people that quell them rebellions because, you know, like, they gonna name you a name so you can get a job from this system. You know what I'm saying? Like, that don't make no sense. They're going to teach you, you know, not just how to get home, because I understand that. They're going to teach you how to be safe. I understand that. But I don't necessarily understand how we're not going to hold our children accountable for fighting back, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't think those things are contradictory. Like, I want Miles Garvey and August to be great men, right? Now, they're small children now, so that means that they have to survive and grow. But I also want them to be warriors. Like, I want them to stand up for right. Like, we're just not going to be tucking chains around here. Like, that doesn't align with what I think freedom is, and that doesn't align with what I think God called us to be. The reason I asked that question, because in the foreword, you know, still reading on the same page, the writer Hines talks about the way that Assata was treated is typical of the ways of the United States respond. Assata was treated typical of the ways of the United States in the way it historically responds to individuals that the government sees as political threats to domestic tranquility. So it's like you getting called out, and we still pick this because we know the people. All right, did you want to share, brother? All right. So the next question I have is of fighting the wrong way.
Say that again. First part cut out.
Okay, what are the consequences of fighting the wrong way?
Consequences of fighting the wrong way?
Yeah. It's a loaded question.
I mean, you know, right. I think that depends on, you know, I was thinking as you were going, you know, giving your last response, one of the first places where my rebellion was sort of stomped down and I got pushed back was in school, actually, when a teacher was being pretty much openly racist, you know, in terms of the grading and how this was going. And so I started this petition. Long story short, started this petition, all the students signed it, and I got threatened with expulsion. I got called into the office as being the reading leader. My mom got called in, and I got threatened with expulsion. I ended up transferring schools the next year. But I think that was a very important moment because my mom sort of had my back and also was like, we still have to sort of fight within the system. We have to figure this out at least until I can get you out of this school. So I sort of had to like swallow that back, right? But I think for me what it did was it made it worse. Like, I'm saying worse, right? Like, it made me more rebellious because it pissed me off that I didn't see that my mom had another option in the situation. So, you know, in terms of fighting the wrong way, and I see why you say it's a loaded question, and I was going to ask you about that in terms of really pushing, you know, your kids or even yourself to be rebellious, to resist, and dealing with those consequences, like how do we deal with those consequences, or how you sort of like prepare somebody, because I don't think my mom was at all prepared for any of the consequences. She was happy that I was resisting, she was happy that I'm standing up for myself, but in terms of what happens now that I fought, whether it's the right way or wrong way, I definitely felt like sort of I had to figure that out on my own. And for me, the consequence was it made me slower to resist the next time. It made me think twice. You know, it made me wonder, am I going to be here standing up by myself again, trying to fight for what's right alone? So.
I mean, I think that's I don't know why I got this. It's really weird that I got. Yo. Yeah, all right. I just had to. One of the things that became very apparent to me in fighting is that, one, the right way is typically the way that don't work. So you can resist any ineffective way that you want to. The minute you begin to resist in a way that's effective, that's when we're going to have all types of problems with you, because like you just don't have the right to win. Like, you can fight all you want to, but you don't have the right to win. And one of the things that I've really begun to realize and understand and reflect on a lot is that when we begin to fight like this, when we begin to fight in ways that are effective, when we begin to fight in ways that are challenging the system effectively, when we begin to fight in ways that make other people question the system, the consequences are going to be the consequences. You know, one of my first managers was a sister named Mercedes, and Mercedes dropped on me that if we don't be off the plantation, we're not going to reflect on how good life was on the plantation. There's a scripture in the Bible that if I would have been better prepared to tell this story, I would have been able to quote. But it's essentially like Moses talking to the people after they allegedly left Egypt. And what Moses says is, you know, when you reflect on the good times, also remember the bondage. Like, when you remember how good it was on the plantation, when you remember how good it was when you were in slavery because you're suffering, I also remember that it was bad enough that it led you to be out here in the wilderness. Like, Harriet Tubman wasn't kidnapping people to leave plantations. So when you get out there in the woods and you're cold and you're hungry and you're afraid, you got to be fueled by the fact that you thought this was better than what you were getting. And it's not going to always be, you're not going to, if rebellion was easy, everybody would do it. Like I feel in some ways called to rebel. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not it's not one of those things that we do. It's not one of the things that we do in order to be cool. Like, I don't do this for retweets and likes. I don't do this for feminists to be like, he can get it. Like, I don't think I've ever been a man crush Monday. You know what I'm saying? And it's And I would be lying if I was like, I don't want the black feminists of Twitter to treat me like Jesse Williams, but whether they do or not, you know, I'm gonna be out here getting this work in because I love my folk. Like this, is what I'm called to do. You know, so
Right.
I think first off, acknowledging that fighting the wrong way is the way that wins, key. And then I think the second thing is understanding that once you leave a plantation, the consequences for leaving will be yours and yours alone. And what you gonna do? Like you gonna go back to being oppressed? Like you want to be free or not? And I just think really engaging with that in the right context is just super important. You know. The next question is, how do we use social media? How do we use art? How do we use music to center our narrative? Still in the forward, Hines writes about how Assata couldn't go home, how she was on the most wanted list. She was accused of being armed, of being a bank robber, and she was never convicted of any of these crimes. Even the evidence that they used to justify her being convicted of the murder of a racist, oppressive police officer, science has proven that that's not the case. Like, that's not how that works. And it makes me think about, I'm reading at the top of page Roman numeral 9 in the forward, the photograph of Assata had been released by the FBI and the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney's Office to the New York Clearinghouse Association, a banks association, which placed the ad and posters even after Assata had been acquitted of a bank robbery in January 1976. Another advertisement offering the same reward for unapprehended bank robbers appeared in the Daily News in March of 1976. This time, the photograph was a recognizable mugshot of Assata with the word apprehended across her face. This poster appeared 2 months after her acquittal on the August 1971 charge. 2 years after her acquittal on the September 1972 bank robbery charge, and while no bank robbery charges were outstanding against her. So the question is how do we use our art to center ourselves in this narrative? Because there's a Malcolm X quote that indicates how easily people are manipulated. He talks about how you watch the news and you don't think for yourself. The news will have you hating the oppressed and cheering for the oppressor. Like, so how do we effectively use our media and our work to ground ourselves and to ground our community and understand that we need to be looking at ourselves and not our enemy to frame conversation. Like when people talk about a buddy was talking to me about how black people in America are talking about police brutality, and black people in other countries are not talking about police brutality because they don't really have police. They have military. And because of like the military, you know, like they getting it all the way in. There are people that are from those countries that are still carrying out the same colonial rule for the most part. Like, what are we doing to really engage them and to understand that it's a system that we fighting against? Not in Jackson, they've been trying to get to 500 police officers, I know, since the 90s. And it's not the 400 people that have chosen the wrong side in this fight. So how do we, the question again is, how do we use our media to center our narrative so that we don't become so easily duped into responding to comments about whether or not Eric Garner should have been selling cigarettes, or conversation about whether, I can't think of the new sister's name, there's so many.
Corinne Gaines?
Yeah, it should have been a Moore. Like we're not talking about the right thing. Like, how do we focus our narratives right in our work and make sure that we're staying on topic and on task in addressing the terror, the police terror that Black people in America live under. So, like, how do we do that?
I mean, I think that's a good question because I think, I wonder how much more, I say this often, right? Like every time we see a new video and people are sharing it. And at this point, I've just stopped sharing most stuff because, one, I'm just like, I don't need that in my life. Like, I don't need to watch these videos and see these images over and over. But also, for most people, it's like, how many examples do you need, right? How many different ways can we say this is what's happening and this is what's been happening? I mean, I'm like you. Like, how do we, like, we know it's happening now. And, like, I'm sort of tired of talking about, not that I'm tired of speaking the names and bringing, awareness and attention to everybody's, to people's situation, but I feel like the conversation has to move past, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. What's happening? Another person? Oh, another hashtag. Okay, we got there. How do we now really get people to understand that it is a system, like you said, right? It's not these bad apples. And I mean, I think more and more people are understanding that, but I don't think people are understanding to the level that we need them to. Like when we talk about abolitionism when it comes to police, like people cannot fathom our nation without police. Like people can't fathom our nation without prisons. And so I think that's the conversation we need to be having right now, like sharing, using our media and our platform and our art to discuss those things, to really, ask the hard questions, to ask the questions that nobody's really asking except for, in the classroom or in a book when you're reading, something by Angela Davis. Those are not the conversations that I'm seeing on social media for the most part. So that's where I'm kind of wondering, how do we get from where we are now to the next point in the conversation?
Yeah, like I wonder that too. Like I don't have a real answer for it as much as it's just like
right.
How do we, like how do we? Because we seem so reliant on the dominant culture, and we seem so dependent on likes and favorites that sometimes I don't necessarily know if we really aspire to shape the narrative in that type of way as much as we're seeking to be shown on white folk media,
right.
and had it on the head and told, that we're different.
Right. Well, I mean, I think this. Oh, go ahead.
You don't have to, like, if you want to. Yeah.
Well, I'll just.
Okay. Yeah. You just listen. Okay. Yeah. All right.
I got something. Well, my idea.
Okay. What's up? What you got?
It's changed. I mean, even though the white supremacy system it's different perspectives and dimensions you could put there.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And really, me being a spiritual person, I believe really, man, now karma is playing out, believe it or not. And really, this white supremacy system been intact for so long and so destructive to so many things. And it's been destructive for millennia, ever since it's been on the scene. And I believe we had to take, it's a changing of the guard that's going on. And, yes, and blazing and whatnot, spark change. But I believe by the natural flow of the universe, and I'm not getting all deep or whatnot, but karma is real. Okay. You do something wrong, it's coming up. And we have a debt that has been paid to us, reparation, and blood has been shed. And I believe that even this system and the police, all stems from slavery. When they had the Pally Walker, the people, checking, the slave, they all, the essence of slavery. Mm-hmm. And it's not lining up with what's going on now. It's outdated. And really is being used now because it's used to control the ignorant. Because you and suppress the ignorant. But once old people wake up and really come to knowledge of self, I believe it's not only gonna set a different tone, but it's gonna show who we are really as a people in many ways.
Okay.
To be honest, in many ways, and I believe the time is right. I believe we have all the technology for millions and millions of people in an instant. And the video, no, I mean, they cannot hide no more. I mean, even though they can manipulate and edit, but they cannot hide. I mean, we're in a transparent society, which was really designed for us, but they in it too, you know, and really, it's pretty much, I mean, it's bittersweet and it's a birthing process because now things are being revealed and conversations are being sparked and dialogue is open. And I believe it ain't going nowhere. I believe it's gonna escalate. And I believe it's gonna escalate in our favor because I believe we got things that's waiting on us. Our ancestors are waiting on us to tap into them to put us in a state where we was building pyramids. You know, or, you know, what, because it wasn't just physical that did that. It was, you know, a lot of other things that we lost due to colonization and imperialism and all these different, you know, when we was colonized, you know, we lost that power. And I believe once we come back to knowledge of self and really, you know, and we could do it proactively and speed up the process, but that's just inevitable. That's going to happen. The changing of guard is going to happen. We're going to be in the forefront. The thing is, when the opportunity presents itself, we're going to be ready. And I believe we got people that's right now, like you know, y'all, you know, going to be to step up to the plate. And because everybody going to be able to lead, and everybody ain't going to make it. But I truly believe we're in a position now where Babylon's in trouble.
All right, I'm with that.
Babylon is in trouble.
Babylon is in trouble. You heard it here first.
And you know, just proceed on because it's inevitable. It's gonna fall. I mean, literally gonna fall in our lap, to be honest. Because believe it or not, and I know it's probably sound far fetched, but if you look at it from a position of karma, you know, like an individual, when you constantly, I mean, if I'm constantly doing bad to a person and constantly hating a person out of my very being, that's like drinking poison because the only person I'm affecting is everything I manifest and who I am as a person. You know, from that state of being, and we all know within that community, it's a bunch of hate, a bunch of deception, a bunch of lying, a bunch of, they despise us. And so as long as they stay in that vibration, that alone is they're gonna reap the implications. That's just by default. Now the other proactive approaches, you know, like you want to spark guns, hey, do it. Or just the elevator. The way we want to spark the revolution, but the revolution's already taking place in the spiritual. What I'm saying.
Okay, that's right on. All right. So now I'm reading from page 11 in the forward of Asada, about middle of the page. Under New Jersey law, if a person's presence at the scene of a crime can be construed as aiding and abetting the crime, that person can be convicted of the substantive crime itself. So basically, if you're there, you can be convicted of committing the crime. So if my buddies are at the store and one of my buddies robs the store and I'm there with him and I run away with them after they've robbed the store, I can be convicted of robbery, right? Okay. Who is present at the scene of our victimization? That's the question. Who's present? That was that good of a question?
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that.
Um, so I think the People's Institute or something, whatever, they have a definition of racism that's really simple. It's essentially race, prejudice, and power. Right? Racism is having race prejudice and the power to have something done about those choices. Right? So sexism will fall in the same thing, right? Like, excuse me, do I have beliefs or opinions about women? Yes. Do I have a system in place to oppress women? As a black man, not really. Right? I can build institutions, right? Like church that doesn't affirm women or that silences women. But essentially, if a woman leaves that space, she's no longer in the system that I can control.
Right.
So my system doesn't necessarily have much of a reach. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can be an oppressive space, but a person can choose to leave my system, right? Do white men have systems in place that can silence women? Absolutely. Do they have systems in place that can silence men? Absolutely. Do they have systems in place that can silence the poor? Absolutely. Most people don't have the power of a system to affirm what they believe, right? So when we start talking about who's present at the scene of our victimization, right? If black people are oppressed in America, like, who is there? Who is there? So it's not just the police, right? It's onlookers, right? It's the people that didn't do nothing but shoot the video. They were there. It's schools. It's parents. It's all types of people that didn't teach you to do it a different way. Hospitals, because they don't provide us the medicine. Food industry, the FDA, for not making sure that all our food is healthy and suitable for human consumption. Like, all of these people are present at the scenes of our victimization.
In other words, you're saying, like, who's complicit in the oppression, right?
Yeah, and not just complicit.
Participating in this.
Right, because see, complicit is like, I'm working with you, right?
Right.
I'm working with you. I'm talking about who's present.
Right.
Like, who is
Okay.
like, not just complicit from afar, but when something happens to us, who is at the scene of that crime? So when a black woman is murdered and nobody says anything, who's the nobody?
Right.
Because I think it's very important for us to be acknowledging the people that are not helping us. And those institutions that aren't helping us. Like, what are those institutions? So institutions that I want to call out are churches, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Churches are present at the scene of our victimization, right? Like, they're there. When we are in communities, because, you know, looking at things very critically, the black community has seriously, like, independent institutions that black communities own have essentially been barber beauty shops and the church.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of other institutions that have been independent that we own and run.
Right.
So another that people don't really consider a lot of is the Masonic Lodge. So you got the Masonic Lodge, you got the church, and you got the barber and the beauty shop. What other institution in our community do we own?
What about great letter organizations?
I mean, we don't own the schools that house them.
It's true. This is true.
and then yet I still think that there. I guess there is always an undergrad on campus component, but there's also, um, outside of college, outside of the institutions, these organizations are still there, still staying. I mean, it's one of the reasons I had so much, beef with mine. The same reason I had so much beef with the Black church for just sort of standing by and even in some situations, right, encouraging people to be passive resistance.
Like so that's just I can't name everybody that's at the scene, but
Yeah.
it's it's some good cops at the scene too. And I want to talk about just that. Like, good cops are at the scene, and if you let the bad cops do that, then you're not upholding the law, which means you're not doing your job, which means that you aren't a good cop. If the student is not teaching the students, you're not gonna say that she's a good teacher. She's doing her job. If the principal doesn't run a good building, we're not gonna say that he's a good principal. He's not doing his job. So we're gonna hold people accountable for work that we expect to get from them. So like those are people at the scene of our crime. Like, it's a whole lot of onlookers that may not be complicit in the murder, but they there though. Yeah, they there. Yeah, they there. Yeah, so you present.
And you even, a suspect too. And even like when you said the institution, white supremacy.
We call it white aggression. White aggression.
White aggression. The whole system, like you said, the microcosm, white aggression. The microcosm, all of those actually trying to change the form within the macrocosm of white aggression.
Mm-hmm.
And if that system comes down, which is already broken, Babylon shaking. There ain't nothing no order among them. Mm-hmm. When you got division among them, shoot, time to go in got a rebel, while it's in shambles.
Yeah.
And they've been in shambles for a while. See, really beyond, they better learn that we are the ones who can take care of them and sustaining them. Even though now they brought in other people from other nationalities so it could mass of our contribution of sustaining them. We always sustain them. We always have took care of them, and now they more self-sufficient now because they are. But at the same time, we have always been the backbone to this system. Even now,
well, now I got a lot of pushback against that. There's a lot of research that talks about, and it's a little away from what we're discussing, but that essentially, like just looking at the model, the power is in production, right? Power is in production, right? So if you can be a consumer or a producer, if you want power, you want to be a producer, right? Talking about the ability of black folk to consume, we can't buy nothing that can change our lives though. Like we still need credit to get degrees, right? We just can't go out and buy college. If we stop buying every Jordan, if we stop buying every car, if they remove credit, what will we be able to purchase? So you got to look at it and be really engaged with understanding, one, the way in which you spend your money, which I support, respect our black dollars for doing, but I think we also have to be mindful to not think that, and this is no shade, Killer Mike, you my big brother, but just putting your money in the black bank, ain't the end. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that black bank have the resources to give loans to black people? You know what I'm saying? Like, are they going to, at Liberty Bank here in Jackson, I live in Jackson, Mississippi, at Liberty Bank, I had a buddy that went to Liberty Bank, got a mortgage loan to buy his house to support Liberty Bank. He could have cashed out for the house, but he got the loan from Liberty Bank. Liberty Bank sold that mortgage to another company. They don't have the resources to keep the paper mortgage. If they bought a lot of houses, if black people's income was so shaky they lose the houses, the bank could collapse. So they don't really have, like, Jared Ball has done a fantastic job of talking about the myth of black buying power, like how that's not the most effective way to gauge the power of a community, because the power is in production, not consumption, and we don't really have the resources. Even if, again, if we were able to take all the resources that we have, we still wouldn't be able to own the means of production. Like, what's one thing we could produce? Now, what we do have is labor. Now, how do we start organizing black labor? And I think that's a whole nother conversation that people aren't really having. I think the dollars are very important in the short term, but I think the long-term goal is to understand and really be able to kind of engage working class black people with the value of their labor. But we'll come
I also
back.
think.
Go ahead.
I think this goes into understanding that, you know, right now, too many of us are focused on trying to change the system, trying to rework the system instead of trying to dismantle it altogether, or to realize that the system that's in place now is not going to be the one that's going to, like, free us. It's not going to be the one that's going to allow us to live freely. And that's not what's going to happen. And so I think it's important because, you know, we're not even near this part, but, you know, Asada's quote on education, I think that's why it's so powerful, because too many of us don't realize that we're not educated to be free thinkers. We're not educated to, we're not taught to see the world without police, without prison, without the system that's in place. We're just taught how to operate within the system. So, you know, in terms of, again, going back to how do we use social media to change the conversation, and all of this about black buying power and switching to black banks, all of these are great. They're great Band-Aids, they're great ice packs, you know, they're going to help us survive and get from today till tomorrow. But in terms of the future and really changing things, how are we going to get people to really understand that the system itself that has to be destroyed or changed completely? It can't be fixed and repaired and operated on and changed. Because it's working the way that it's built, right? It's working the way that it's intended to work.
Talk that talk. I see you. I see you black revolutionary. I see you. So I'm coming into the home stretch. Last two questions. On page 6, I'll read forward. Middle of the page. The stretcher is moving again. Where the hell are they taking me? Again, the light is changing, and although my eyes are closed, I can feel the difference. It feels like I'm in the dark. I can't take it any longer, and I look. The room is dark, but there is some light. My eyes slowly adjust. There's something lying next to me. I can see an outline, something in plastic. Something my mind slowly realizes that it is a man in a plastic bag, and that the man is Zaid. My body stiffens, my spirit spins. My body stiffens, my mind spins. One of the troopers says, that's what's going to happen to you before the night is over if you don't tell us what we want to know. I say nothing, but inside I'm raging. Dogs, swine, filthy pigs, dirty slimy scum, bastards, sons of bitches. I rage on and on. I wouldn't tell you the right time of day, I remember thinking. I wouldn't tell you shit stinks. The night crawls along, nurses, doctors, and troopers. I'm still scared, but I'm just as angry and as evil as I am scared. When in these conflicts, when we're facing the consequences of our choices, what is the emotion that leads over our fear?
Rage.
Rage? Anybody else? What's the emotion that takes over and leads you instead of your fear? Sorrow?
I would also say frustration.
I think about the spook who sat by the door. and I can't remember who it was, but he tells Dan, because I hate white folk, and Dan tells her that Dan tells him that you're gonna need some more than hatred of white folks to fuel you in this. And one of the things that I think about is love, like how much I love my mama and how much I love my sons, and how much I love them, and I don't want them to deal with the shit that I got to deal with. So as angry as I am and as scared as I am, I love them and I want them to not have to deal with this shit. So that grounds me in my fight, you know, like how much I love the people that I love, like how committed I am to the people that love me, that like we resist in this way and we recognize the challenges that we face. It's just how do we move through it, you know?
I think desperation is another one. I think that's probably closely tied to love when I really look underneath it. Desperation was the other one I was thinking about right after frustration. Just like desperate for something different for my niece's nephew's godson, right? Like that, like even if I could be okay with this, even if I could just be like, forget it, I'm tired. Being desperate enough to like know that something has to be different for them. And like you said, I think love is definitely underneath that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, and we wind it down on time. And I'll post this other question that I got, but I did want to get this one out for people that are kind of doing the work. So Asada is in the hospital. She's being brutalized by the police. There's a nurse that comes in and kind of gives her a button above the nursing station, and that kind of gives her some comfort. There's a brother there that as she's laying on the bed, he slips into the room, and when the pigs aren't watching, he shoots her the black power fist, and she talks about how good that makes her feel. She talks to the black nurse about how she wants what her name is and what her lawyer's phone number is. And that nurse then divulges that information to the pigs. The pigs are really on her and attacking her even more. But finally, whatever happens to her, you read it in the text. What happens to her is that her lawyer is able to come and see her. Her mother is able to come see her, and her sister is there to come see her. So I want to read a little bit about that, and that's how we'll end it tonight. My mother comes in. She looks worried. Page 16. Oh. Okay. My mother comes in. She looks worried but strong. She kisses me. I'm proud of you, she says. The words spin around me, weaving a warm blanket of love. I'm so happy. I can hardly contain myself. My mother is proud of me. She loves me and she is proud of me. Too soon, the time when my mother is up, my sister comes in. She has her hair wrapped in a turban and she looks so pale. As soon as she sees me, she breaks out crying. Tears stream down her already puffy face. I can tell she has been crying a lot. I love you, she says simply. We don't do a lot of talking, but I feel so very close to her during those few minutes. Time's up again, and then she is gone. I lie there full of emotion. All of this is so hard on my family. They look so vulnerable and shaken. This is maybe harder on them than it is on me. I wish there was something I can do to make them happy. The question is, how do we support our families in these choices that we've made?
For me, it's been patience and compassion, mostly patience. Being the rebel of the family. And then this has always been the case, but now when we're venturing into dangerous territory, having those conversations with my mom before I go to an action, before I go to a meeting out here. But patience and like compassion and understanding that we're not in the same place, that her survival looked a lot different than mine did. She was growing up. And the way in which she resisted doesn't have to look like the way in which I resist.
So, I don't really know, man. Like, it's very scary to me to be thinking about it too. Like, I don't know how I support my family in the choices that I've made. I mean, my family has changed a lot, but I still, wish and want. I don't know. Like, that's something that I've really been thinking about. I don't know.
Well, I know you about like part of my family. I'm breaking the curse. Even though I've always been an outcast, free thinker, outspoken, whatnot in the family. But me, where I look at it, even though if I might can't wait, or share or even communicate with my family, I know for my generation beyond, it's over. Well, unless they choose not to, but they won't have the ideas, that I didn't have access to. They would have the ideas that I didn't have access to. From me applying and deciding this is it, I'm going to choose another path because everybody else doesn't make or assist.
Definitely. All right, cool. Well, that was it, man. It was good. Last little bit, I love these little things that she writes at the end of the chapters and stuff like that. It's just so dope. I saw that you posted this too. You died, I cried, and I kept getting a little slower and a lot more. Yeah.
What is that, man?
Assault. Yeah. Yeah, well, come on, we'll get on in. So this what we reading and discussing. I guess to wrap up, I want to say that I appreciate Cams for being here. As soon as I sent the thing out, she logged in like she was waiting for it. So that was dope. I want to say thank you to my homeboy Javaris. I don't think he made it. And maybe he meant 5:30 Eastern time, which was 4:30, so I missed him by an hour. But thank you to Javaris for setting the time. I want to say thank you to the African Art Gallery for allowing us to be in the space. What's the address over here?
800 North Ferry Street.
800 North Ferry Street. They got the 5 dashikis. Don't let them white folk beat you out your money. Come on, the real one. Stop playing yourself. Major key alert. You played yourself wearing the Fugazis. But they let us be in here. They showed a lot of love. The Wi-Fi is popping. So it's real dope. In the community, they solid people, and they not fake. I want to say thank you to the brother Stanley for being the first person here. He was here before I was here, and it was popping off today. So I appreciate that. Anybody else got any thank yous or appreciations they want to give?
Well, I'm thankful just to be here. Thankful just to be here.
Sure.
Just to walk in, but the way it works.
I just want to add, I apologize for not saying that's where I am. I like to say I'm just quiet person.
Yeah.
I sit back and observe.
Yeah.
Even though
Quiet giant. CEO.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, man, everybody participate in the way they participate. So yeah, like I'm not here to make other folks talk a lot, or make people be quiet. Like if you just kind of get out, we're gonna bring you in. But for the most part, man, it take all kinds. Cams, you have anybody or anything that you want to say thank you to or appreciate in this space?
You, man, thank you. I appreciate this. I've been wanting to talk about discuss Asada for a long time. So
And usually I am the quiet one, so I'm glad this is you doing it. I feel comfortable enough to like hop in and talk. So
Now this is another question for the group. Do we want to do this every week or do we want to do it every other week?
I would say every other week.
Every other week. So today is the 4th, so not the 11th, but the 18th at 5:30. We'll be back here at the African Art Gallery, 800 North Fair Street, Jackson, Mississippi. I'll post another link. I give you a better heads up, you know what I'm saying? I have my hair cut next time too. I look real suave so I can, you know what I'm saying, get my Jesse Williams on, you know what I'm saying, try to be somebody revolutionary Bay, you know what I'm saying, somebody Man Crush Monday.
No, you don't need to be Jesse Williams. Keep the melanin popping, please. I need the melanin. You're all good. You're right here.
I don't know who that was. That was crazy. Like, I appreciate, like, I didn't even get to see your name, but you know what I'm saying?
Hey Skip, I just wanted to say thank you for having this, and thank you for encouraging me to reread Asada. It's really doing a lot of good, so thank you so much, and thank you for the art gallery owner for hosting this. It's been cool, y'all. Really appreciate y'all.
That's what's up, man. So we'll be here on the 18th, not the 11th, but the 18th, and we'll be popping back at 5:30. As I
Which
sign
chapters?
off, let's do 2 and 3 next time.
Perfect. I'm gonna make you a little flyer, Skip.
I bet I'm gonna hold you to it. So we're doing 2 and 3. On the 18th, as I sign off everything, stage, everything, right on to the real. You know the rest. Freedom.
I'll walk.